Thank you for watching my video. This is an interview with two of the lead designers for Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns expansion, and this took place at the EGX Rezzed event in London. And a big thanks again to the guys at ArenaNet for helping me and get this set up. I literally just turned up and, that they said, look, we're lucky you've got one spot for the whole day, and I was able to nab that and get a great interview with these two guys. Apologies for some of the sound. It is actually recorded in sort of backstage, and there was a lot of stuff going on. Because the internet was down, they were trying to sort of, get the crowd sort of, involved. So there is a little bit of noise. I do apologize for that. So, again, just try and sort of concentrate on some of the key topics involved here. So enjoy. So hi there, my name's Mike. I'm here with
Isaiah Cartright
and
John Corpening.
And we're going to be talking about Heart of Thorns. So I'd like to start off talking to you guys about the PvP Stronghold map. Is it pretty easy to learn compared to, for example, Conquest and sort of the deathmatch? How easy is it for a new player to learn how to play?
So that's a really interesting question because new players have just started looking at it right now, so it'll be really interesting to see. But one of the things that we wanted to do is we wanted to put a lot of gameplay variety on the map itself, right? So a lot of things about Conquest were very subtle, whereas Stronghold, we wanted to make it clear as to what you needed to do, right? So if you want to go and grab some supply to raise some troops, that's very clear that you need to do that. You'll see the troops spawn in, supporting those troops as they go down the lane to attack the enemy gate. The thing that you need to do next, it's clear that you need to take out the guards because the guards are going to one-shot those door breakers as they're coming down. You need to break through the gates, work your way into the inner gates, and then defeat the enemy lord. So all of these objectives are very clear on the map. They're very easy for players to understand, like, what do I need to do next, and it's also easy for viewers to see, when they're spectating.
Yeah, because you could probably see from some of the casting, like Blue and sort of Jebro. I'm guessing they'll probably find it a lot easier to sort of do some of the castings for this.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, something I just want to mention, so I thought this was kind of a fun thing that we did, is that as we were developing Stronghold, our primary focus was great gameplay, right?
Yeah.
But another thing that we wanted to think about was, how much fun is it to watch? How much fun is the spectator? And so a couple times, a few times during development, what we did is that we'd take a moment, we'd have Josh and Hugh shoutcast matches that we were playing, and then we'd sit down and watch them, and it was just a lot of fun. We had a really great time doing that, and watching all the things happening on the map.
Oh, that's cool. And obviously it's got the different elements to gameplay. So would strategy be a bit different? So obviously Conquest, you've got the 3 main points, far, medium, or sort of far, mid and short, sort of home. And then you also, depending on the map, you might have the Trebuchet for the Kylo map, or the Lords again for sort of legacy. And is strategy a bit different, or is that a big part of gameplay? I mean, would you consider, obviously with the top teams, we just had the tournament series, it's sort of, you've got a 50-50 sort of build-up of individual game, like sort of 1v1, and then you've got the actual whole, sort of strategy, where to go and what points to cap. How would you see the strategy for Strongholds?
So we've seen a lot of different strategies developed for Stronghold, and it kind of centers around the various strategic areas around the map. For example, the supply depot is actually generally a great place for team fights in the early
That's the middle,
phases.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's right smack in the middle. There's 2 piles there, but it's in the same spot, same area, and so some things that we've seen is teams have really tried to control that area, right? Another place for team fights that you'll see will be the lore room, when you're on that big push on the big defense, you see big team fights there. There's the dueling that you talked about, in Conquest, that is very strong in Stronghold as well, in a couple of roles that you'll see, one role that you'll see would be defenders, and so players will go and they'll really try to keep their gates alive, their guards alive, keep out the door breakers and all that. But they're always up against the person who's playing assault from the other team, right? Okay. So the person who's playing assault will very often go up there, they'll try to clear out those guards, clear out the defenders, make a clear path for the person shepherding up the door breakers, right? So you'll just see you'll see various things develop, and there's counters built into that, like I mentioned earlier, the supply depot being this very strategic location, Now, earlier in development, we did see teams that just lock that down, and that led to the development of the Trebuchet, as a counter to that, right? So, the Trebuchet is there. It actually has a couple of purposes, one will defend your lane. So if a team takes on the strategy, and actually talked to some people playing earlier today who they saw they could do this, everybody rushes in and makes a big, huge army, and they all push down the lane together. That's their strategy. There's also the trebuchet that will be there. You can take that out, right? That's a really easy target, against really easy target for something that does a big AoE damage, right?
It seems like you've taken a lot of elements, like you've got the Lord from Legacy, you've got the trebuchet from Kylo, so you're sort of, taking the best parts from what you've seen in PvP and put them into one map.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's actually like some of the things we were looking at, and that's some of the things that players asked us to look at, right? Like, a new game mode has been probably the number one request that we've had for a while now, and players have asked us to look at a bunch of different things. They asked us to take a look at secondaries from our existing maps, asked us to take a look at World vs. World. They asked us to take a look at Guild Wars 1 style gameplay. They asked us to take a look at MOBAs. And we took a look at all those things and we drew inspiration, we drew influences, but ultimately what we did is we created something that was the right thing for Guild Wars 2, the right thing for our teamwork and combat systems, and the decisions that we want players to make. I am totally rolling here. So, you want to stop for another question?
Well, let me just get a couple more on the PvP side. Obviously, with the new map, you've got different it's going to be different strategies. Will there be a different each role for obviously each class? Because obviously each class, you look at the thief, that was more about the stealth and going in and sort of really hammering on points. Coming in from stealth. You have different engineers. Jebro just did an interesting build video looking at the sort of celestial rifle NG. Are we going to see more build variations, and are we going to see sort of particular roles for each type of class?
Yeah, that was actually a pretty conscious decision on our part for how we want to see those build variations and see people take on those different roles, right?
Yeah.
And for example, some of the roles that and there are names from players of course will come up with their own names from and all that, but the person who goes grabs some supply and brings it back, we're calling that the smuggler, and that person can kind of have a couple of different options. They can choose to engage in the team fight, so they can build themselves as being very damage based, but good for team fights, or they've seen them build themselves to be very sneaky, very quick, very evasive,
Well, just a point on that. Would you see in the with regards to mobility, you've got the Spirit Watch sort of map. You have warriors tend to use particularly the sword, where they sort of grab the sort of the orb and run to their point.
Yeah.
Is it sort of similar like that? Grabbing the supply and then getting back to your stronghold as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we're doing in Stronghold is we're not putting as many restrictions on skills, like we did in Spirit Watch, and that was also part of what we were thinking about, was that grabbing supply and taking it and spawning a troop, you can follow that resource, right? The resource starts at supply depot, goes and becomes a troop, and then now there's other ways of carrying the troop, and because and also it's there to knock on doors, not there to score a big chunk of points like it is in Spirit Watch, right?
Yes.
So we felt we can be a lot more liberal with the skills that you're using, and I think that's just created a lot more fun. It means I can use a lot more of my skills. I don't do things like drop supply, like you would in Spirit Watch, In fact, one of the things that we've seen happen is we have this great footage of Jessica, a person on our team. She went, ran supply, dropped a mesmer portal. She channeled in 2 door breakers, and then she does this backflip and lands into the portal right before it closes up. To go back and get some more supply, and those are things that we can do because of what supply means in this game, as opposed to Spirit Watch.
And there's some fun kind of counters to that we've seen, where we one of our people internally made a warrior with just every CC interrupt you can imagine, and just sat in the areas where you get supply and turn in supply, and just say no, and it really was a cool strategy. And so there's a lot of, I think, unique roles and strategies that we'll develop. There's rush strategies and defensive strategies and split strategies, and I think this map will bring a lot of those to life.
Yeah, as far as other builds go, so I kind of mentioned this before, right? Another one we call the shepherd. So it's you get your flock of door breakers, and you want to shepherd them to the door. And
perfect for a guardian.
It's perfect for a guardian. Perfect for people who really like playing support. Which there's opportunities now, but there's even more opportunities in Stronghold. Play support, and we actually Terza, she's actually with us today. She plays a guardian. She's really amazing at playing support. She when we see her coming, a lot of times you have to make these decisions. It's do I try to take out door breaker or try to take out the person, with door breakers? You have lots of these tactical and strategic decisions when you're bringing these things in and fighting against people. When she comes down the line, I have to take her out.
Yeah.
I really do, because she's going to keep these guys alive, and if I don't take her down, she's going to support them all the way, So that's another area. And then we've seen, like, Izzy does this thing where he'll stealth door breakers just going down, So, I actually saw somebody on a trebuchet, and they're, like, cleaning up door breakers as they go. And I see, like, Izzy coming down the lane with a bunch of door breakers, then behind a house. And then he's like, the guy in the trebuchet was waiting.
Yeah, but then he stealthed.
And then it happened, and all of a sudden they blinked in over here. And but you'll see like lots of that kind of stuff. I mean, we really want players to use their skills, use their classes in different ways.
It sounds like there's going to be a lot of strategies and a lot of different ways you can actually use your class. Lots of different varieties that you can obviously, and as well with the mastery. Is the mastery system you're going to allow? Sort of, for example, we've seen with the ranger becoming a druid, and there'll be a druid in PvP. Is that right?
So that's a specialization system, and yes, that'll be game wide wherever you're at. You can use that in all the places.
One final PvP question. This is a little fun thing. It's something that I'll sort of miss, and I know you guys don't really want to get focused on this, but Raid on the Capricorn, can you not like bring it back for like a custom arena? just for people to have a little bit of fun. I know you guys don't want to do underwater combat. I just think it's a cool map. Could you not like remove the water?
So that's an interesting thought, and we'll take it into consideration.
It's my little thing anyway. Let's talk about the Revenant. If you compare it to other classes, and sort of, each class has their own particular way of playing. Sort of, you've got the Thief, and it's sort of, stealth. The Mesmer's very, sort of clones. The Warrior and the Guardian, they're, sort of DPS. The Ranger, obviously Ranger. And then sort of Elementalist is a sort of Nuka type build. What would you describe the gameplay? How would you describe playing a Revenant?
I think the Revenant, we're trying to get kind of two big kind of gameplay pieces. One, mobility only inside of combat, so you won't see them moving around crazy all over. They're a little more, slow outside of combat, but when they get into combat, they gain that mobility. And then the second, really being able to kind of adjust what their role more than anyone else. Because the legends really lock you into a play style. You can be a very high damage dealer and then swap to some support, throw some support abilities, or even amongst a single legend, you can use your energy to use one ability that's more offensive in nature, and then swap it to be more support in nature. And so it has, with the extreme of those different abilities, can really pick between two different roles and swap between them rapidly.
Okay. And just
time for 2 more questions.
Okay. All right. That's all right. And just to quickly say, regarding the Revenant, why did you bring back the energy management? Obviously, that's very similar to Guild Wars 1. You had obviously of energy. Is that one of the considerations for bringing that back?
We really wanted to be able to have a lot more power in the skills. We wanted the second half of the bar to have many things that would be considered overpowered without some other limiter. And so energy really allows for some more tactical gameplay in how you decide how to use those abilities, and really allows us to push their power overall and some of the cool things they can do. Plus, we really like the maintain system from Guild Wars 1 because it allowed you to do some funny things with kind of like buffs and temporary buffs and energy management. And so it really gave us that opportunity to kind of bring back that style of gameplay in some of those abilities.
All right, and just a final question. We'll just talk about the Heart of Thorns story. Firstly, is it going to be finished in a day? Is it, I'm guessing it's well written, and are we going to see sort of some snippets from sort of Guild Wars 1, sort of lore-wise? If you don't want to talk about much about it.
No, I mean, the way we've been learning to tell story has been evolving rapidly, and I really think a lot of the learnings that we've had are really allowing us to push forward a really meaningful, powerful story. Some big ones is we used to make the decision kind of in between the instances, and that would kind of decide what instance you're going to next. And we pulled that decision inside the instance itself so that you can replay that instance and see both sides to the story, which really allows you to get a fuller understanding of what's going on. Plus, we no longer have two characters kind of side by side talking to each other. It's now all in the world, and that gives you a little bit more immersion, and you can do some things that you couldn't do before, like all of a sudden a big explosion happens over there and your character's like, whoa, what's that? Or points to it. And in the side by side, you kind of are broken out of that, and that kind of sense of what's going on around you and what your character reacts next to it is very broken. And so those are some new tools, you know, along with just kind of understanding what makes a good story in this median, how do we do better pacing, all those things I think is going to lead to a much stronger and more impactful story that people can play through.
Brilliant. Well, guys, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
very
you.
much
Thanks for
appreciated it. Just one sort of small thing, you know, just quickly, legendaries. Are we going to see a new legendary for each weapon?
We haven't.
Just a yes or
we haven't gone into a ton of detail on that.
No, it's just you said new legendaries. Yeah, I just as any.
There will be new legendaries. That's all we can say.
Thank you very much,
You're
guys.
welcome.
Thanks.
So there we had it, guys. An interview with Isaiah and John. Thank you again very much for taking the time to talk to me about this, and again for ArenaNet for being so kind. And you know what? It was fun when I actually turned up and I said that I'd do a little small YouTube channel, and they said, "Oh, okay," and I explained who I was, and they actually said, "Oh, you sound familiar." And then it was actually, you know, when I said the most popular video, as you guys probably are aware, is the one where I turn gold into skill points. And that obviously, what was surprising was, you know, a lot of the devs had actually said, "Oh yeah, we saw that. Yeah, there was a big thing on Reddit about that. Yeah, very crafty." And I was like, so, you know, the devs do actually sort of keep an eye on some of the YouTube channels and some of the Reddit forums. So that was a really nice thing to hear. But again, thanks to John and thanks to Isaiah for a very interesting chat. I wish I could have had longer, but unfortunately they had many people to talk to, and, you know, they would have spent the whole day, you know, talking about Heart of Thorns. So I really appreciated the time they spent talking to me. Anyway, thanks very much for listening, guys. Hope you picked up some interesting tidbits from this conversation, and I'll see you on the next video.